when I lost to Tito, that hurt. There was no part of me that thought I was going to lose to Tito, and I knew where Tito stood. I knew full well this is the guy nobody loses to. If I lose to Tito, I'm going to have a real hard conversation with myself that I don't want to have. I used those exact words. I had dinner with my buddy Justin. He said, how you feeling? I told him that. I said, man, I fully get the score here. And if you lose to Tito Ortiz, it's not great. But I knew how I felt going into that fight. I knew how I felt in the room. I knew how hard I was running. I knew what I could lift. I mean, some of those things are verifiable. You look at the numbers on the side of the plates. You look at the stopwatch after the runs. There are some things where you do know where you stand. And there were so many things that happened that night with being out for a few years and going in and just whatever happened, it all culminated. I got put in a bad position. I lost the fight. Fair and square. Fair fight. Completely fair. Joel, it was so bad. My performance was so bad. I had people out there thinking I threw the fight because they didn't have any other way to explain it. And I'm sitting at it going, listen, this is a disaster. A main event, record-setting at the box office for the company, record-setting over on Spike TV. We're beginning of the year. I'll fully admit we're only into February here, but nobody's touched it. And there's been plenty of shows on free TV. Nobody's touched our number. And you lay an egg. So now you've got two choices, man. Do you sit around and feel sorry for yourself like I started to do? I've done the same thing that Ryan's doing, whether it was in Hawaii after Homer Moore or in the Child Center after a high school wrestling match. Or do you get back up and go, wait a minute, that's not a depiction of my skills. Am I being delusional? Am I being one of those guys clinging to career? Or did I really have better moments and I just wasn't able to show them then? And that's the spot that you get put in. And that's really what fighting is about. It's about moving forward when you're down. It's about being tough and picking yourself back up. It's about, when people are saying bad things about you, do you believe it? And the same goes the other way. When people are saying good things about you, do you believe that? It's great to read the things they say about you, Joel, good or bad. It's never okay to believe them. And I've seen people fall so far because they got hooked to headlines. They got hooked to nice things that people were saying or a stranger patting them on the back. It's like, man, none of this has to do with what your career is as an athlete. It has to do with how hard are you willing to work, what are you willing to sacrifice, and can you move forward when the chips are down? And that's what it's really about. And that's the spot that Ryan's finding himself right now. But I'm looking at Ryan from the outside. I'm going, dude, you're amazing. You're working body shots. You're pushing the pace. You're controlling the ring. You're dealing with the crowd. You're dealing with the lights. You're dealing with being on TV. You're dealing with a 5-round situation. There is not very many people walking this planet that are in the 5-round club. Not many guys walk into an atmosphere that is scheduled for 5 rounds, and even fewer actually make it. Usually in a 5-round fight, there is a finish, and it's not because one guy is better than the other. It's because one guy flicks it, and he doesn't want to be out there because it's too goddamn long. I don't agree with them going to 5 rounds. I don't know why the sport ever went to 5 rounds, but here we are. Ryan jumps into that situation. I mean, the courage of courage. He puts it all on the line. He just can't be down about himself. He just can't. I know that he is, but he just can't. And after I laid that egg against Tito to finish this thought, Hoist Gracie comes in the locker room, and he says, let it go right now. Let this go. And Hoist isn't my guy. Randy is. Randy came in the locker room before the fight, but I didn't see him afterwards. Hoist comes in the locker room, and he says, let it go right now, and don't ever look back. Get back to your skills, get back into the gym, listen to your coaches, work with your teammates, and move forward. And that was it. He'd reinforced something that I already know, that I'm preaching right now to somebody else, but I'm preaching it because I'm in the right spot. I've been through it. And the only way through it sometimes, when the chips are really down, there's no way around it. You've got to go forward. You got to go through it. And that's the spot that he's in, and that's what I want him to do, and I hope that he's at practice tonight. And whether he works out or he just watches the practice, he needs to stay in the habit. Every night you get in the car, you get your gear, you show up. That's the spot he's in.
Yeah, let me just speak on this real quick, and then we can move on. And again, I'm nobody. I'm not trying to put a lipstick on the pig. It's still a pig. You looked at least 50% better the first sparring session after the Tito fight. You cannot, with 3.5 years, you had to get in there. You have to go through those things, and you also have to figure out who the hell you are. You're a goddamn gorilla. You're a badass. You put people on their back and you beat the shit out of them. You maul people. Maul is the word. And the first thing I saw Wednesday night, the week after the fight, was you mauling people again. And then we seen it again over at Fabiano's. And I actually, text Randy on that, and he's, let's keep that guy. Let's keep that guy. I'll bet all my chips on that guy.
Yeah, and you never know how it's going to work out. But boy, you got to try. You just have to try. And I've learned some of the best lessons from being a fan, from watching people, whether I looked up to them or whatever the situation was. And a lot of it was what not to do. A lot of it was I'm going to gain strength by watching you, and this is something I can't do. You can't take those breaks, and you can't go feel sorry for yourself, and you can't go, again, we saw it with some people we looked up to. I brought up Sugar Ray a little bit ago, and it's public. I'm not speaking out of school, but, he fell into cocaine use and all these other things, and I'm sitting back and go, man, you're Sugar Ray Leonard. You're amazing. If you never win another fight, you left us with so many great moments. I just don't know how you're down on yourself because you didn't get a result that you wanted. That's not what being a fighter, being tough is all about, man. There's other things to it. Some of it you're not blessed with. Some guys, one guy's born faster than the other guy. That's not a skill you can work on. One guy's born stronger. He's got the right DNA. There's some variables there that you get in the gym and you work on to try to close those gaps and work on your own skill set. But at the end of the day, did you work hard? Did you walk out? Did you show courage? Did you sacrifice? Did you do everything you say you would on the time you said you'd do it? Did you make the weight that you promised to? Did you follow the rules that you agreed to? Those are the things that a guy needs to take with him. And, we're talking about Ryan right now, but he's just so damn good. And one of those things, you and I were talking about Ricky the other day. That was I've been telling you how good Ricky Simone is from the moment I met him until now. And that was your first time getting to see him live. And of all those great fights, of all, Ronnie Marks wins the championships, finishes Lopez in the first. Of all these things, your takeaway was Ricky. Ricky is as good of a fighter as I have ever seen. I don't just mean in person. I mean the guys I've seen on TV, he can do everything. He can do everything Conor can do, except he can also wrestle. And he's tough, and he's in shape, and he's strong. He's the whole thing. And a lot of it comes down to opportunity. Why is Conor a bigger? I'm sitting here telling you I know a guy that's as good as, better than Conor McGregor. I'm sitting here telling you that. You know what a claim that is? And no one's ever heard of him. Well, they will eventually, but it all comes down to opportunity. Some guys get opportunity. I had somebody call me a few weeks ago, and they said, listen, I'm doing everything right. Here's what I'm doing. And they start telling me. And they're entering events, local events, or getting themselves out to tournaments. Some of it had to do with grappling, but anything they can do to compete and get their name out there. And they're saying, when is my phone going to ring? When am I going to get the call? And I said, let me reprogram the way you're thinking. Go out there and do all of these great things, but then make the call. Your phone's never going to ring. And where that came from or when the call is going to come, that's a fictional tale, and I don't know who started it. But let me stop it for you now. Go do these great things. Call someone like me, which you just did. Let me give you an email address. Let me give you a phone number of the guy that you think's going to make the call to you and change your life. That call's not going to happen, but you can call him. And he did. I gave him two numbers, Richard Chew and Sean Shelby. He reached out to both of them, and they both responded. He's now on the radar. They didn't sign him, but he's now on the radar. And that's where Ricky needs to start as well. Ricky is one of these guys, much like Ryan, not like Jake. Jake's out there. Jake understands the game, and he's putting his own name out there. But these guys are sitting back and waiting for something good to happen. They're doing everything right, but they're waiting. And it's like, guys, the world is going to the bold. You need to get out there, and you need to ask for something. This is still America, and you're not going to get anything in this country that you don't ask for. Get the phone number. Get the email. Don't leave it to your managers. Don't leave it to chance. Don't leave it to your girlfriend. You make the call. Start bugging them. And don't be afraid to hear no. Start bugging these guys.
I agree 100% with you. Ricky's so goddamn good because he's got everything. I mean, to fight the way he fights, that composed. I mean, he looks like he's getting ready to take a nap. He's getting ready to take a nap. The one thing about Ryan, cut your goddamn hair. You know, you keep flicking your hair out of your eyes. I used to hate Benson Henderson with his hair falling down because I know as a fan, I can see through what's a punch and what's not a punch, but goddamn, those judges always can't. So cut your goddamn hair and get to practice. I gave you 8192. That means man the fuck up.
All right. I thought we were going about this a little bit nicer. I thought we were going to coddle him, but
we just blew him in front of 500,000 people for 35 minutes. He's had 3 days. Get your ass back to practice.
Yeah, man. Let's give him 1 week, Ryan. You got 1 week. Feel bad for yourself. Do whatever you got to do, and then we're not going to wait for him to come to practice. We're going to go to his house and pick him up.
All right, fair enough.
It's as
fair
simple
enough.
as that.